Captain of a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier facing a growing outbreak of the coronavirus on his ship was fired on Thursday. Navy leaders said Crozier created a panic by sending a memo pleading for help to too many people and suggesting 50 sailors could die. With a crew of nearly 5,000, the USS Theodore Roosevelt is docked in Guam. The Navy has said as many as 3,000 will be taken off the ship and quarantined by Friday. More than 100 sailors on the ship have tested positive for the virus.
The captain of the USS Theodore Roosevelt is no longer at the helm of his ship. The Navy announced it is relieving Captain Crozier of his command just days after a letter pleading for more supplies to fight a coronavirus outbreak on board. News 8's Brandon Lewis spoke with the mother of a sailor and explains what happens now. Brandon.
Carlo and Barbara Lee, tonight some 3,000 sailors who serve on the USS Theodore Roosevelt are now off the ship, awaiting for their test results to come back. More than 100 of them have confirmed tested positive for the virus. We spoke with the mother of one of those sailors who tells us she is praising the actions of the captain.
That was a completely unnecessary thing to do in the midst of a crisis.
Days after the commanding officer of the USS Theodore Roosevelt sent a letter pleading for help battling a coronavirus outbreak on board, the Navy relieves Captain Crozier of his command.
It raised alarm bells unnecessarily. It also created the impression that the Navy was not responding to his questions. And as I mentioned, my chief of staff was in contact with him a day before he even sent that email.
The ship is currently in Guam, where the Navy says 114 sailors tested positive for the virus, all with mild to moderate symptoms. Among them is Chantilly's son. News 8 is not identifying him or using her last name because he is serving on a ship that is actively deployed.
I can just kind of hear the fear in his voice. Today he spoke very low, so I know he was sneaking on the phone.
Chantilly says her son is asymptomatic, but medical staff say he can spread the virus, so he, like others, are isolated at an on-base hotel. She says she's happy he's getting the care he needs and that the captain spoke out.
This child is my 5th pregnancy. I lost 4 babies before him. I don't want to lose my son. If, he's ever in town, he always has a warm, home-cooked meal here.
But the Navy says her reaction is one they wanted to spare families and why they ultimately decided to relieve Crozier of his command, adding he never told them in multiple conversations, including one the day the letter was sent, that he needed more supplies.
To me, that's a phone call to Admiral Aquilino. It's a walk down the hallway to your commanding officer. It's not a blast out email to anybody who he knows.
Tonight, there are still about 1,000 sailors on board the USS Theodore Roosevelt. They will remain there for the duration, helping to run essential functions of the nuclear warship. Carlo and Barbara Lee.
All right, thanks, Brandon.
Commander of the USS Roosevelt has been relieved of duty after he raised the alarm over a number of sailors who were showing signs of COVID-19. And he was right. So Captain Crozier was the captain who was eventually relieved of duty. He was the commanding officer of the Roosevelt, an aircraft carrier with a crew of nearly 5,000 people. Now, he's going to be relieved of duty, but he will keep his rank and remain in the Navy. Now, the official reason for relieving him of duty is loss of trust and confidence, according to officials who spoke to NBC News. Now, many of the sailors who were aboard that ship ended up testing positive for the virus. The ship pulled into port in Guam last week, several days after multiple crew members tested positive for the virus. By Wednesday, there were 93 positive test results and more than 1,000 people were taken off the carrier and placed into isolation on Guam. Now, he did the right thing, if you ask me, because there needed to be action. He wrote a strongly worded letter that eventually got leaked to the press. But since it got leaked to the press and it apparently embarrassed the military, maybe even the Trump administration, he was eventually relieved of duty. Now, just to give you a sense of how the sailors feel about him, here's what the reaction was as he was walking off the aircraft carrier.
Okay. Uh, Look, I have a lot to say about this. First of all, that's a movie scene, man. That's the end of Dead Poet Society. Oh, Captain, my Captain. They're chanting Captain Crozier, because he did his job. His job is to save those guys' lives. And whether it's a war or it's a virus that's threatening their lives, you don't write that email unless you already asked and asked and asked and you didn't get it. And God damn it, you got guys that might die on that ship, and you're going to write an email to your superiors, and you're going to say, I need the help, and I need it now. And they have this flimsy excuse about, oh, he didn't write it the right exact way. Get out of here. Nobody believes that. You know what happened? Is the minute it hit the press, Trump's feelings were hurt. He caught feelings. How dare this guy say that we're not taking care of their troops? That could hurt my poll numbers. This guy's hurting my poll numbers. And you can tell from the reaction of the head of the Navy, because as he's relieving him of duty there, he keeps saying he's a wonderful commander and he's a terrific guy. And you can tell he's saying, I don't want to do this, but I was told that I have to do this. So you got to get off the ship, and we're going to put on some lackey who's not going to protect the sailors in that case, who's not going to give a damn about them, who's going to be a piece of crap careerist that is going to not care about those guys, but going to care about the most important person in the country, which is Donald Trump, for this corrupt, sick Trump administration.
Donald Trump does not care about the lives of anyone, including our troops, including these sailors. He doesn't care about anything other than himself. You're right, Cenk. All he cares about is his own self-image. And what's incredible is how they'll drag him through the mud and try to destroy his reputation in an effort to save Donald Trump's ego. So Acting Navy Secretary Thomas Modly, the same individual you were referring to earlier, said that Crozier was removed from his post because he sent the letter over non-secure, unclassified email to a broad array of people rather than up the chain of command. Look, I got to be honest with you. Who the hell cares about the chain of command when it comes to raising the alarm about a very legitimate issue? You have people stuck. You have soldiers stuck on this aircraft carrier, and action isn't being taken to protect them against a virus that's killing thousands of Americans as we speak.
No, I don't believe them. I don't believe them. So first of all, look, chain of command matters. But Crozier is not going to write a letter. He didn't get to be captain of that ship accidentally. The guys who get promoted to that level, I'm not saying like I have hero worship of them. You know, it totally depends on the circumstance. That's not who I am. But they don't get to that level without knowing how to handle the bureaucracy and the chain of command. So I'm sure that the reason he wrote that letter is because the chain of command was not working. He would bring it up to people and get dismissed because now the fish rots from the head down. And you have a commander-in-chief who's a bumbling egomaniac who doesn't respond to anything. And so he writes that letter, but he writes it to several people in his chain of command. It's not like he wrote it to randos, okay? He didn't write it to the press. He wrote it to multiple people in the chain of command. So the other person who I'm sure is livid is a person in the chain of command right above Crozier, because it embarrasses that guy. Because he apparently didn't do anything to fix the situation. That's why Crozier had to write it to multiple people in the